So it is the month of May, which means it's the month that Beech Mountain opens for bike park riding. It's the greatest month of the year, isn't it? So if you're planning a trip to come up to the high country of North Carolina, we've got Beech Mountain and Sugar Mountain as the lift access DH bike parks, but we've also got the new bike park, Ride Rock Creek, that's shuttle access, and of course Ride Canoga in Hendersonville, which is leg powered, but still amazing. And in the coming years, we're also gonna have Wolf Ridge with lift access DH. So it's a great place to come and try out DH riding for the first time. But I wanna give you 10 tips in terms of skills, gear, and just preparation for the trip that can help you maximize the amount of fun that you have if you come here to ride. Okay, so number one, I would say if you're used to mountain biking in the standard kind of trail, XC, enduro even kind of manners, make sure that you have ridden a Black Diamond trail before you start riding DH. And that is because, of course, all of the green circle, blue square, all that stuff is contextual to the mountain, and I can just tell you that all the downhill places here, a green is kind of a black, or like at least a blue-black combo. So you want to make sure your skills are kind of ready for the big jump in difficulty that comes with going to a downhill mountain bike park first, just to be safe. All right, number two also has to deal with skills and skill development. I think that you can absolutely have a great time on a DH bike park if you're not really good at jumping. I mean, I'm one of those people. But you don't have to be great at braking or great at cornering necessarily. Of course, all that stuff helps. However, you do want to make sure that you can hit at least small to medium drops and land them confidently. So, probably a good idea to check out our how-to video on drops in mountain biking. Might as well just subscribe to the channel. But it's not just a plug, like really, even like the green circles and definitely the blue square trails have mandatory drops. So like that's the one skill you really want to have down before you go hit bike park laps. So when you think about downhill mountain biking, you're usually thinking about people who are like dressed in motocross gear, like full face helmet and all that stuff. And there's a reason. I mean, you're traveling at high speeds and the trails are usually technical with jumps and drops and lots of rock guards and stuff, so it's kind of dangerous. For that reason, I mean, just wear a full face helmet. I'm talking about the ones that have the crossbar in front. And when you wear a full face helmet, don't wear sunglasses, like actually wear goggles. Do ski goggles work? Honestly, I've done it and it works fine. I have mountain bike specific downhill goggles and they're really not that much different. But they do have like a clear lens and you can get it dirty and you can replace these little like tear off things if it's super muddy. So it's useful, but just goggles are great. If you fall on them, they're not gonna shatter. Just be really, really safe and don't try to do it with a half shell and some sunglasses. Go for the full face and go for the goggles. Also along the lines of gear, you want to protect your body as much as you can, like as little skin should be showing as possible. What that means is knee pads, for sure. Elbow pads, I definitely recommend them. And as far as the pads are concerned, there's different levels of pads in the mountain bike industry. Like there's these VPD Air ones from POC that are really squishy and are supposed to harden up on impact, but they're really designed for XC trail riding. Like you want to have the ones that are like hard. You know, imagine landing on a rock. You want something that's not going to be squishy or not even really comfortable, but something that's just going to protect you. So like the hard shell pads, knees, shins, a lot of the downhill pads have knee shin combo, like a full leg. Plus you're going to want to have your elbows. And I don't have this, but I really want it, is the armor, like the body armor, chest and back plates. I'm frankly too big to fit in any of them right now, but you can probably fit into them. So you can rent those at Beech Mountain and Sugar Mountain. I'd just go ahead and do that. All right, also talking about gear, bike. You don't want to ride a hardtail bike or even a cross-country bike on a DH track. And I would just suggest renting a downhill bike like at the lift access places, which you can do. You can also rent at Canoga and Ride Rock Creek. So I would just do that unless you've got a full suspension bike. And I'm not so worried about travel. It's more about the brake rotors. Make sure if your bike has less than 180 mil brake rotors front and rear, and ideally 200, 203, 220. If you've got less than that, definitely rent. Because, I mean, with downhill riding, you're gonna be on your brakes or full on, and you're gonna be on your brakes a lot. They heat up, even in one lap, they can get really squishy on you, and that's dangerous. So I would just say rent a downhill bike unless you've already got a pretty big bike with some pretty big brake rotors. Now there is that age-old debate about clipless pedals versus flats. And in terms of normal trail riding, honestly, I go in between them based on the trail. But for downhill, I'm always going clipped in. And I did in my first 2 seasons, and that was like the main thing I was thinking about as I was going down the trail, as gravity's trying to throw me off the front of my bike, was making sure my feet were in the right position and readjusting every time I got jostled, and you get jostled a lot. Then I tried clipped in, and it's just something you have to think about. So there's a reason why pro downhill riders are like always riding clips. Not always, but like 99% of the time. If you have clipless pedals, those are what you're gonna wanna bring to a bike park. Now there are a ton of videos that talk about bike setup for enduro and downhill riding, and I'm not gonna go into a ton of depth. The main thing that I change as far as setup, well, number one, I have a flip chip on my bike, so that makes it slacker and longer, and that's great for going steep downhill. But mainly, I'm thinking about rebound damping. So when you're going fast, you're having these repeated hits, your fork and your shock are gonna tend to kind of pack down if you don't have your rebound set fast enough. In other words, your rebound damping low enough. Rebound damping means it's not gonna rebound as quickly, right? So you wanna have it really quick, because think about braking bumps in a big berm, like on Hellbender, for example, at Beech Mountain, like you're getting dig, 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 dig. You want the fork to be able to extend and fill in the gaps that are created by those braking bumps. So I usually increase my rebound a little bit when I'm going bike park riding. All right, so I want to finish off with 3 tips that regard kind of planning your trip to going mountain biking. And the question that's probably going to come up most is, where should I go if it's my first time? If I'm going to do a lift access thing, should I go to Sugar or should I go to Beech? And to me, that's a great question, and it depends on what type of riding you plan on doing. If it's your very first time doing any kind of technical downhill trail, I would say go to Sugar first, and the reason is twofold. First, there's a little, I think they call it a kids area, but there's like a skills area that has its own lift that's a lot tamer than the real trails that you can work on going over wood features and hitting berms and like going over bumps in rapid succession. And that's a great place to take kids. It's also just great if it's your first time and you want to get your toes wet. But also, Carolina Cruiser is the green trail at Sugar Mountain, and I think it is substantially easier to manage than the Green Mamba Trail, which is the only green at Beech Mountain. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely go to Sugar. If, however, you want to do intermediate blue trails, I would say go to Beech, because Hellbender and Indigo and Burmese Python, and definitely not Copperhead, but even Canebrake, like those are doable blues relative to what you find at Sugar. Their blue trails are really technical, talking about Hare Scramble and especially Supernatural, like really, really rocky, chunky, steep, slow speed. Probably not what you're looking for your first time going out and doing a blue. But if you want advanced trails, Sugar is the place to go. I think there's like 3 double black diamonds and a normal black diamond. There's just a lot more on offer at Sugar Mountain for experts. Also in the realm of trip planning, I would say if you can, come on a weekday. Beech Mountain is open Thursdays, Fridays. Kanuga is open every day of the week. Rock Creek is open on Fridays, as is Beech. And it's a great place to like start your journey into DH riding without crowds of people and long lift lines and people like riding up the back of you and trying to pass you and stuff if you're new. Also, the trails tend to be kind of divvied up into 2, 3, 4 little sections, and they're great to go through the section. It's just like nice to be able to get off the trail, catch your breath, stretch out a little bit. I mean, it's a really physically demanding subdiscipline of mountain biking is DH riding. So I really suggest come on a Thursday, come on a Friday, get these little partial laps in with breaks in between so you're not forcing yourself down the mountain. There's nothing more dangerous than riding while tired. All right, last but not least, you've heard it a million times, pre-ride, re-ride, and then free ride. It's actually on the signage at Ride Kanuga, and it's super apt for DH riding. In skiing, I think it's a little bit more common to be on a resort and like do one trail and then another one. You don't really repeat. But with DH riding, especially if you're new, you won't have a good time if you're going down the first time. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what features are ahead. You get surprised on Green Mamba when there's a huge rock roll at the beginning of a green circle. really give yourself 3 runs per trail before you move, because otherwise if you're jumping around doing maiden voyages and everything, you're not going to be riding fast. It's going to be scary. You probably won't have much fun. So when I go, whether I'm deciding I'm trying to chill day, I want to do a green, I want to do blues, I know what trails I want to ride first, and I just stick to those. And I can usually do 3, 4, 5 laps on one trail, and that's a good day. And by the time I'm on my 4th, 5th run, I'm flying, and it's the most fun that you can have on a mountain bike, I think. So, hopefully this has been helpful if you're planning your first ride out here to the high country in North Carolina to do some DH riding. Let me know in the comments if you've got other tips, if you're an experienced rider, or if you've got questions about when to come, what bike would be the best to rent, etc. I'm happy to help out. And I'll see you next time here on Descent at Best.